Okay, so, like the title says, we are doing a Rush deep dive today. Yes, the band Rush. And, surprise for you, we have Getty Lee. No, I'm just kidding. I wish. That would be amazing. Yeah, Night Mode is Progress French. That would be absolutely amazing. But, they are way out of our league when it comes to that. So it's just me for now, and then when Anthony gets here, it'll be him as well, and we'll be fine. It'll be great. It'll be a great time. But, yeah, so we're doing Rush Deep Dive. Kind of just going over the history of the band. A lot of cool, interesting stuff. I know Anthony's been listening to podcasts and watching stuff. I actually just rewatched the Beyond the Lighted Stage documentary. It's actually on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, you absolutely should. But yeah, they are a really more than talented. Doesn't even describe this band, man. They're too good for their own good. They are prog rock legends, and they honestly deserve. Oh, there we go. Hello. Oh, join call. Oh, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Oh, baby.
It's
perfect. It's perfect. It's perfect. We're better. Oh my God.
Now?
Okay, so the people who are listening on Spotify, which by the way, if you're listening on Spotify or watching this on YouTube, we stream this on Twitch every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern at twitch.tv/blackflamegg. So
that was impressive.
Thank you.
You got all that out in a single breath.
I really had to concentrate. I'm not gonna lie. I really had to concentrate.
There we go.
So here we go. I don't know if you can see the stream, but I got the names all fancied up.
Oh, yeah. This looks incredible, man. Good job.
Me.
All you.
I did it. I did a thing. I did the good thing. Okay. So, Anthony, like a normal 2021 human being, wrote all of his notes on Rush in a Google Doc. I did it on pen and paper, or pencil and paper, because, you know. So, okay, real quick. How are you, sir? How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you very much for asking.
Good.
It was a little bit of a hustle and bustle to get here. It's rainy out, and people don't know how to drive in the rain in Florida. So
Right.
That's just kind of par for the course, I feel.
Yes. Yeah, we took a trip to Florida for my dad's wedding back in March, and it was absolutely dreadful getting there. For them purposes, I'm so happy that Anthony moved his camera back. Yeah, I know, right? It looks so much better with the like the wide instead of the square. It's so much nicer.
Yeah. I've decided, because when I use my camera for my personal stuff, I have it aligned vertically, but it's very as simple as me turning a knob and then rotating it, and we're good. So I'm just gonna keep it horizontal for all of these streams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I promise it looks so much better.
Works out. I'm looking at it right now. It looks great.
Yeah, it looks
great.
great.
An awesome job, man.
You look very handsome. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Wow.
So, real quick, I rewatched. I've already said the chat, but I'll say it to you since you weren't here. Which, welcome. Is that I rewatched Beyond the Lighted Stage today, the Rush documentary.
Excellent.
And I wanted to point out, for those who aren't familiar with Rush and the impact that they had on music, this documentary kind of just goes over, honestly, their kind of whole span of career up to when it was filmed and released, which was 2010. So they actually had a bunch of musicians and stuff speak on not on their behalf, but about them. And I made a list of those musicians just to show you how impressive their reach was and who they inspired. So here's the list. It's not super long, but it's people. Right. Trent Reznor of Nine Inch Nails, which, by the way, he was literally I'm pretty sure the first person you see in that whole documentary. And if that was me, I could quit my career there. I was like, I'm the first person you see in a Rush documentary, and I win. I'd make a plaque, and then we're done. That's it. That's my career. So Trent Reznor of Nine Inch Nails, Jack Black, who we all know, Mike Portnoy, which is previously of Dream Theater. I'm not sure what he's doing now when it comes to drums. Sebastian Bach of Skid Row, Tim Comerford of Rage Against the Machine, the bassist, Kirk Hammett of Metallica. We all know who that is. Yeah. Let's see. Gene Simmons of Kiss, who they toured with. And little story here, Kiss thought they were boring as hell because not like as a band, they loved them as a band, but as people, because when they were on tour with Kiss would be like running through the halls and chasing women and drinking and all this stuff. And on one of the nights of their tour at their hotel, they had a professional like women's like volleyball team or something like that staying on the same floor.
Uh-huh.
And like all of them had their doors open while they were like doing all this stuff that women do. And
Right.
Russ is just chilling in their room reading books and watching TV. Like they could care less.
It's honestly almost like upbringing. Yeah. That's a big factor. Like they're first of all they're from Canada,
Correct.
and even though the Canada meme exists, Canadian people are generally speaking super polite, and from the onset, like they were so insanely focused on their careers as musicians and making it as musicians because there was
Oh
so
yeah.
much doubt even when they had make it, right? Like they signed I'm not sure how much history you got into it. I'm not trying to like kind of
Go ahead.
override
Go
the
ahead.
direction you were taking this.
Trust me. Hey, I've got like 3 pages here, so
Mhm.
we're good.
Okay, excellent. We have enough to talk about.
Yes.
They were they were so insanely focused on making it as a band from the get-go, right? Like they started out doing this tour of high schools and colleges in
Right.
Ontario and all of that good stuff. And that like the thing that bands do when they're starting out, they were playing Hendrix and Clapton, etc.
Right.
And it wasn't until they recorded an album, right? And their
Right.
first thing they recorded was a cover of a Buddy Rich tune or a Buddy Holly tune. I can't
Is
remember which
that
was.
is that true? I didn't know that.
That their first recording was a cover. I don't know if it's Buddy Rich or Buddy Holly, one of the two. And
Oh.
it was really inconsequential, like 99 on the top 100 levels of inconsequential. th- yeah, their manager suggested that they record an album, and they did, and that's where Working Man comes from, their
Yes.
first real big single.
I have that in my notes here.
Ah, there we go. We did the same research then. So
Yes.
they released Working Man, and then they start getting some traction, right? And they end up firing their original drummer, John Cooperson, or
I have
just
his.
Cooper.
I have the name. I have the name. I have the name.
You're the hard notes guy. What's the first part of his
John
name?
Rutsey. John Rutsey.
John Rutsey. They fired John Rutsey because he's having debilitating health problems due to diabetes.
Yes. Yes.
What
And
sucks.
they think they are 100% sure that if they continue with him, and obviously he's living the rock star lifestyle. He's drinking, like they're staying up all night, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
They are 100% sure that if he stays with the band and tours what is coming up, which is the American tour, the first one they do, he will die. 100% he's
Right.
gonna die. So for his health reasons, they I wouldn't even say they fired him. It was pretty
They
mutual.
parted ways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he like as upset as he was, he agreed with it. But yeah, so original drummer was John Rutsey. From the start, I'm gonna read some notes here. From start, John actually had musical tastes that were different from Geddy and Alex, and
Mhm.
those were pretty much straightforward rock songs. And then Geddy and Alex were into more experimental music. Um, and that's kind of where even when at the start they had like differing tastes and thoughts of where the music
Right.
should
It,
go.
it was never a perfect match from the get
Hmm.
go, but you take who you can get when you're starting a band. You know this, I know this,
Of
and you
course.
kind of run with it. Um, they record that album with John Rutsey, and they end up getting picked. Working Man gets picked up by a radio station in Cleveland,
Yep.
and that's kind of the ball starts rolling for them, and things start happening, and it's going well, right? But again, they're so tunnel visioned on having success. They get rid of John Rutsey and they hire Neil Peart, who, little side note history sidebar about where he came from. He started playing drums at 14 and by the age of 18 had moved to the United Kingdom from Vancouver to focus on his music career.
I did know that.
What? Yeah, like it was crazy levels of dedication. And then he gets to the UK and he's reading on philosophy and studying all this different stuff.
Oh, he
And then
was a
they cross,
genius.
yeah, he was the genius. And they cross paths, and that feels like the right fit, like that like-minded people who are kind of more humble. Like we had already mentioned that Kiss thought they were boring as people because they weren't raucously partying the whole time,
Right.
right?
So, with Neil, he was actually already in a band called What is it? JR Flood was the band's name, and they were actually already pretty serious. But
Mhm.
one day when he was actually home in Canada,
Mhm.
the managers of Rush had contacted him, and they picked him up in a brand new white Corvette, Granted, this was in like the
Ooh.
70s, early 70s, late 60s, whatever it was. They picked him up in a brand new white Corvette to take him to lunch and ask him to audition for the band. And when he had gotten to the audition, both Getty and Alex were like, one, this dude's hair is not long enough. Two, he seems like a nerd. And three, he does not seem cool enough to be in this band. And then he started playing, and it was the best thing they've ever heard when it comes to someone playing drums.
Yeah, like it just speaks for itself, right?
Right.
I think we've all had that moment of the first time we heard Rush, and you notice the drums, and you're like, "Wow, what the fuck is happening?"
Of
right?
course.
So for them to have that same kind of reaction, it's
Right.
kind of telling. It's kind of telling.
So we got on a tangent there. I want to read the rest of this list just because like the amount of people that they had in there that are just seasoned veterans of rock music is insane. So like I said, Gene Simmons of Kiss, Billy Corgan of Smashing Pumpkins, Danny Carey of Tool, who's the drummer of Tool, who was a absolute demon when it comes to what he can play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Vinnie Paul of Pantera and Taylor Hawkins of the Foo Fighters, who was obviously the drummer of the Foo Fighters, and Vinnie Paul was the drummer of Pantera. He actually passed away a couple years ago, I believe. Rest in peace, Vinnie Paul.
Rest in peace, man.
So did you want to kind of? I know we've already kind of been talking, but do we want to make it more like in sequence of years, or do we just kind of want to say stuff and go with it?
We could kind of keep this. I like the flow of us just kind of we're able to sidebar on things when we need to.
Okay.
I think the big thing is that we hit some of the more significant points in their career, right? Like the first four records were very formative for Rush, in my opinion, the opinion of people that that just have been following the band for a little bit, right? Where it's like first record is pretty inconsequential. Fly By Night happens, and again, not a whole lot.
So the first record actually did really well, because the first record, as soon as the label manager of Mercury Records heard it,
Right.
he was like, "We have to sign them." Within 8 hours of him hearing that record, the same day they were signed to Mercury. And that does not happen. Usually it's months of preparation and contracts and all that stuff. But because they were a young band who didn't have lawyers and all that stuff, they just had a manager, who honestly kind of was new to it himself. Like he was doing that for a living, but he wasn't like professional.
Yeah.
So yeah, and actually, so when Bytor and the Snow Dog, is that the second album?
Second album is Fly By Night, I'm pretty sure.
Well, it's okay. They had some stuff in between Fly By Night and the first album. And because that was when Neil joined and he got really conceptual with lyrics and stuff, I'm pretty sure it's Bytor and the Snow Dog. And people heard that, and especially record execs were like, "What the fuck is this? Like, I don't know what you're talking about." I actually wrote down some of the things that critics had written about Rush in that time frame when Bytor came out. And if you're okay with it, I would love to read this because this had me cackling in my living room. So some critics wrote, and I'll do open quote, end quote. Quote, overbearing and repetitious to the point of tears, end quote. Quote, Rush's humorless and limited interest is in literally themes and meager sense of melody made for one dull concert, end quote.
This is savagery. This isn't even like feedback.
They got destroyed when those like bit of songs came out. Quote, deafening, dull, depressing, and dated, end quote. Quote, the songs are a cancerous network of haphazard key and time signature changes, end quote.
Golly.
And then my absolute favorite, quote, a voice that sounds like a rat caught in a ringer, end quote.
That's not nice, dude. Like
it's so bad. But the thing was, like, it's not that the music was bad. People just didn't get it. Like,
right.
That was the biggest thing, is like if you didn't understand, or if you didn't like Rush, it wasn't because Rush was a bad band, because everyone knew they were talented as hell. Some of the most talented people that were in the music scene at that point. But it's because you did not understand what the hell they were doing, and like
Right.
none of it made sense to you. So yeah, I had to write those down because it showed like little news article clippings and it highlighted some, and I had to write down the ones that highlighted because it absolutely had me dying when I was watching that documentary.
Yeah, I mean that if anything, that's a lesson in like persistence, right? Like if someone writes like one bad thing about my music, I'm like, all right, I quit. I'm out.
Right,
You know?
right,
And then these guys are getting scathing upon scathing
right. By the way,
reviews. And
that
like
was from Caress of Steel, not by Torn the Stone, Caress of Steel.
correct, and you know, Corrosive Steel was a weird one for me because if you look at the chart positions for I'm looking at the full LPs, not like the EPs and singles they
And
released.
live albums and stuff.
Yeah, like just the studio albums. It's self-titled, Fly By Night, Caress of Steel, 2112. And
Right.
those four, I think, kind of set the foundation for everything that comes much later in their career, right?
Yes.
Where Rush, the self-titled Rush was good, hit 86 on the Canadian charts and 105 in the US. Those are the actual numbers.
Yeah.
I was
And
Fly By Night.
that's still great.
That's still great, yeah. Fly By Night is number 9 on the Canadian charts and 113 on the US charts. So they're gaining traction in their local market. And you, as
Right.
a musician, know how important it is to start gaining traction in your local markets, right?
Right. Yes, of course.
Fly By Night is now certified platinum, like many, many years later. Good
Yes.
to know.
Yes.
Caress of Steel, they dropped back down to 60 in their local market. That's how
Ooh.
much of they just got dropped. And what ends up happening is at that point, their executives at Mercury Records are like, y'all need to pick something. You need to
Yeah,
either
like, figure it out.
figure it out because it's what you're doing isn't working. Like where you're supposed to be doing well, you're not selling well. And if you don't figure it out, we're going to drop you.
Right.
And so they're kind of at this crossroads of do we kind of sell out and do the full Zeppelin inspired, wow, I'm tongue tied, Zeppelin inspired commercially accessible rock, or do we go off the rails? And I think if you haven't listened to 2112, I would tell you to go listen to that and make the decision for yourself of what direction they chose to go in. But we're here to inform you. We're here to educate you. They went off the fucking rails.
Yeah,
they went completely off the deep end.
Oh yeah, it was very much of not I'm not quoting anybody from the band here, but very much fuck you. We're gonna make what we want to make, and if it and actually I think Neil said and if this is it, if this is what we end on, that's fine. We're proud of it. We'd much rather go back to our daily jobs that we had before touring than do something that we don't want to make, which
Right.
is like the utmost respect for those guys for taking that chance. And it worked, thankfully. But actually, a note that I had from Fly By Night, the title song, I believe, is where Neil created his signature ride bell rhythm.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Ding,
that
ding,
dun,
ding,
dun,
ding,
dun,
ding,
dun, dun,
ding.
dun,
Yep.
dun, 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 dun. Yeah, you know what it is. Yeah, if you're a
I
Rush
knew
fan,
exactly
you know
what it
what
was.
it is. And I'm almost
Right.
100% sure that that's where that started. And then now, obviously, he used it in countless
It's a
things.
staple of his playing now.
Oh yeah, of course.
Or-
So something about 2112. It has an opening piece, the first song, opening track, that clocks in at over 20 minutes long, and the title is 2112 Overture / The Temples of Syrinx / Discovery / Presentation / Oracle / Soliloquy / Grand Finale.
Now, for those of you who don't know, this is written as this is not like people throw this term around a lot and use it incorrectly. This is literally a space opera. 2112 is written as a front to back story of dystopian space societies where overreaching priests are suppressing people and they're like keeping the secrets of their history or keeping their history secrets from them, you know?
Right.
So in the same vein of them all being well-read, well-knowledged people, they decide to really write the stuff that inspired countless and millions of nerds to start playing Dungeons and Dragons across the country, you know? Like that's
Right.
where that came from. And the music is structured like a musical. An overture isn't just a fancy term for a song. An overture is a piece of music that is going to give you snippets of everything you will hear or you can expect to hear in what you're about to hear musically.
Exactly.
Like
Exactly.
that's the thing. So this is not just, oh, we went crazy, we did a lot of drugs, and this is what happened. This is all meticulously planned. This is all like consciously written, consciously dedicated to, and it fucking kills. It's
It's
so good.
it's crazy that they were told to not take chances, and that's what they did. Like, they didn't just like be like, okay, we're gonna make the music we want to make. They literally were like, we're we don't care what you say. Like, we're gonna make literally anything that we want to make, and it worked, and it's crazy, and it's I just couldn't
It,
believe that. I can't believe that the first track on that album that was make or break for them is 20 minutes long.
yeah, like talking about putting your money where your mouth is, you know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like they're gonna do the thing, they do the thing.
yeah, for real, for real. Um,
That that's the big thing for me with this band.
Overtures Are
Oh,
Lost Art. They used to be at the beginning of like every classic movie. Yeah, exactly.
right,
It
right.
sets the
And
tone.
it literally sets the tone. Like that, it sets the tone because it's telling you you can expect to hear these selections musically over the course of what you're about to experience, right?
Right.
And something that I wish would come back to music more, and a lot of prog bands still do this, but I wish just music at large would do this, is
Hmm.
the idea of proper theming in a piece of music is something that I always really value, where it's like you'll present a musical idea and associate it with a feeling or with a concept, right?
Right.
And that happens all over this record. There's certain like melodic lines that are repeated across the tracks that you hear on the overture that come up again in Temples of Syrinx or
Of
in
course.
Soliloquy are the big ones that stand out to me. My personal favorites, but
Right.
who's talking about personal biases? So yeah, point being, 2112 is the Rush album, right? Not that
Yes.
it's the most Rush because it happened at such a pivotal point in their career where they had to either choose to be the most genuinely themselves or sell out, and that was that, you
Right.
know? So
Yeah, for sure. It's yeah. They did what they want, and I'm happy that they did. Let's
yeah, I think
see.
we all are. If
Oh
they
yeah.
had it, we wouldn't be talking about them
Oh,
now, right?
exactly, exactly. So real quick, going back to their first tour that they got after the first album came out. Um, they had after so this is after right after Neil joined. Like Neil said, yes, they had 2 weeks to prepare for a tour. I'm spacing on who the tour was with,
Mhm.
but their first American tour, and they had 2 weeks to basically get to know who this Neil kid who shreds at drums, and to prepare a whole set. And the first show, I don't remember if it was sold out or not, but it was at a cap of 11,000 people,
It's
and
a lot of
that
people.
was their first American show in 2 weeks. They had to figure that out.
God.
Yeah,
Can you
that's
imagine?
I no. Like,
Yeah, quite
I'm not even
literally
gonna
cannot.
I'm not even gonna like fake that I can. I absolutely cannot even imagine that. Um, I don't think it what the Kiss tour trauma was after that tour. They had heard that Kiss had heard of or seen Rush. I don't remember which. But I think it was they heard them on the radio or something of that nature, and they said we have to take these kids out. Like, they're too good, and it would just be they'd be because they were a great opening band. And so
Yeah.
that's when the first tour was right before Kiss.
And it's always interesting when a band like Kiss is like gunning to have you, you know?
Oh
Because
yeah.
say what you want about Kiss, but that band was also pioneers in their own right.
Oh yeah,
Um,
for sure.
we could probably do an episode on Kiss at some point, but we're not. Let's for another time.
Yes, yes,
For
for another
another
time.
time.
Yeah, it's funny because they were actually Kiss at the time. Were actually like only. I mean, they were. I shouldn't say they were only doing okay. They were doing okay for Kiss, right? Like,
Right.
they were still selling crazy amounts of shows and tickets and stuff, but like their albums weren't doing great at the time. So it
Yeah,
was kind
they
of
were in a bit
like,
of a lull.
yeah, it
Sure.
was kind of like an underdog tour. And then right after Kiss, they did the exact same thing with Ted Nugent because Ted Nugent's albums weren't selling for shit either at the time. So Ted Nugent brought them and they did like a string of shows with him. Fun fact, I've actually ran sound for Ted Nugent.
Oh,
Yeah, it was
okay.
cool. It was very fun.
That is a very fun fact. I like that a lot.
um, yeah. So let's see. Where are we? This is man. My hand hurts so much after doing
Dude,
this.
Google Docs. That's what I'm telling
I
you. Google
know, but
Docs,
I was in the
man.
living room watching it, and I was like, I might as well just write it.
That's fair. That is fair. Like, and your notes are probably way more useful to you than my notes. My notes are a bunch of bullet points.
Oh, mine are too, but they're like it's just like long-winded, like it's a lot of stuff in one point type thing.
Right, right. Oh
Um,
God, yeah, I'm looking at them now.
yeah, small little fact. Let's
So,
see. Yeah, go ahead if you got something.
no, I think like if we talk about like they're blowing up after 2112, right? Like looking through the discography, Farewell to Kings charted 11 in Canada, 33 in the US, so they're top 50 at this point,
Right.
22 in the UK, 41 in Sweden, Hemispheres, 14 in Canada.
Hemispheres. And then next comes Permanent Waves and Moving Pictures, correct?
Permanent Waves, yeah, and then Moving Pictures was their first number one debut in Canada
Yes.
and number three in the United States. And Moving Pictures is arguably their most famous record. It's the
I,
most recognizable artwork for
yes.
sure.
And I actually wrote Permanent Waves and Moving Pictures definitely became their most popular albums.
Right. And there's a few songs on those records that we could talk about specifically, like
There
that,
is. Hold on. I've got my
I
whole
have the
setup.
track listing here, but I'm sure you have your notes somewhere. I think if you know a Rush song in passing, you know it from Moving Pictures or Permanent Waves. Like I think that's just because
Yeah, for
those
sure.
there were so many big hits on those two
Yes.
records.
Yeah, so honestly the main two is Spirit of Radio and Free Will. Uh
Right.
just so unbelievably good. I actually when I took a shower today, I had to listen to that album because I haven't listened to it in a long time. Um
Right.
and man, just the chorus of Free Will where everything drops out and then Geddy Lee sings the I Will Choose Free Will is just it's so good.
Right, and if you have the right to choose, you still have made a choice. Is that the lyric?
Yes, if you have a right to
Like
choose, you still have made a choice.
right. It's so good. It's so good. I think we could take a real quick 5-minute break here so we can collect ourselves and kind of go into this next chapter. We're at about a halfway point through the
Okay,
show,
for
so I
sure.
think it's a good stopping point. Um, Boss Felipe, I'm not big brain. I just have too much love for this band. I'm telling you,
Is
like
it
it's
bad?
it's.
He said, "Is it bad? I don't understand anything, but I'm still interested." Bro,
I mean,
we wanted to do
go.
this because I'm sure that there's plenty of people who haven't listened to Rush, and because they are very much a cult band, they're very, um, they are very like niche with their audience,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't be surprised if you haven't heard Rush. I'd be very surprised if you haven't heard Tom Sawyer,
Mhm.
but that's Rush. I mean, like that's probably. I mean, I'd say Tom Sawyer, YYZ, and 2112 are their most popular songs, right?
100% agree with that.
Right.
You could also say Limelight probably.
Hmm.
Like Limelight's been in a movie
Well,
or two.
I guess Fly By Night and Working Man as well. Like, but
Mhm.
also I think that those two were there because they were so close to In Sequence, and also Working Man became so huge. It was their first break song in America.
Right.
So obviously that's a really big one. Fly By Night is it's just always been a classic.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's interesting. Okay, so Tyler, you haven't wait, hold on. You haven't heard Rush, or have you not heard a specific song? Because I might
Okay.
be very
Okay.
disappointed.
We're gonna do two things if our name is Tyler. Tyler, you're going to open up your Apple Music or your Spotify or your YouTube Red or whatever it's called.
But it's
You are
Toonie
go-
Jigsaw in chat, by the way.
I figured it.
Yeah.
But you're going to open whichever one of those you're using, preferably Spotify. You're going to go follow Rush or look at the This Is Rush playlist, and then you're going to follow Black Flame on Spotify because we're posting the show there weekly. And this is just a good little time to plug that in for
Yes.
anybody joining us who
Yes.
who missed the beginning of the show. I missed the beginning of the show this week. My bad. We are. It should YouTube Red is their YouTube music thing. Like please do like even if you don't follow the show on Spotify or Anchor, at least go listen to Rush, man.
Opening.
Like
He said
do
opening now,
yourself a
following
favor.
now.
Oh, thank you. Following Black Flame so hard. We love that. But yeah, for anybody who's joining us a little bit later, we post the whole show the next day or the day after on Spotify and on YouTube, and you can check us out in all those places. But we love having you here interacting in real time when we're doing the live show.
True.
This is a lot of fun for us.
Very much so. Yeah, it's very cool to the only thing that I'm like, it's not that I shouldn't say I don't like, but that I wish we could do more is just interact with chat. But I understand why we can't. It makes sense. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah,
That's why we have
you
sections
know,
like this. It's okay.
right? I have the stream open and I'm reading chat and I'm like, oh, I love that. I love that. Following Black Flame is my favorite drug.
Oh my god.
Okay, that's yeah, same. Let give me that good shit. Okay, let's get back into this beaker, shall we?
Okay. So after those albums came out and happened, they kind of got very experimental. Experimental for Rush is weird because experimental for Rush doesn't mean what it's our experimental is already what Rush sounds like. When I say experimental for Rush, I mean incorporating new sounds, like a lot of synthesizers and doing a lot of things that people were doing in the 80s. They became very poppy, if you believe it, in the 80s and early 90s. And Alex, the guitarist, actually really didn't like that because it kind of it almost left no room for him as a guitarist. But after they put out, I don't know if it was 2 albums, but at least 1 album, excuse me, that was very poppy, and very synth oriented and synth heavy. They got with a producer whose name is escaping me right now. I should have wrote it down. I apologize. And he told them, he said, listen, I get what you're trying to do, but we are going to bring back the Rush sound, but in a modern way to where it makes sense. And there was a song that they showed, and it was, let me pull it up. I'm not going to play it, but it was Show Don't Tell from
Great song.
From Presto.
Great song.
And dude, that opening riff is so good because it's like it's Rush and funk and like jazzy, like it's just so good, and the rhythms are so weird, and I fucking love that song. So after they did all that, my favorite 80s type of music is vaporwave-ish type songs. I think that's how you say it. I think that's how you say it. But anyway,
I think that fits.
After they did all that, the late 90s happened, and in 1997, I wrote this down because it was very important. In 1997, Neil's daughter actually passed away in a really bad car accident. And of course, everyone was shocked. He was devastated. They took some time off to let him deal with that, obviously. And then almost mockingly shortly after that, his wife got sick and passed away. Pretty much, I think within the span of a couple of years, his wife and his daughter both died. So he had a really, really rough time. And actually, what happened after that is he basically stopped talking to everyone. Rush was on pause for, I think, 4 or 5 years, maybe a little less. But he,
yeah, I think he told at Selena's funeral. I think he told his bandmates to consider him retired.
Yes, yeah, I think I believe you're correct. Yeah, no, it's really freaking sad. But what happened after that is he got on his motorcycle and he basically started where he was living. He traveled completely across the U.S. and then went straight down through South America. Traveled all the way through South America. It was a 55,000-mile motorcycle ride, basically. Traveled all the way down through South America, back up into the U.S., and then landed in California. And that was a couple of years, obviously, taking place. And he said one of the things that he loved, because Neil was very antisocial and kind of standoffish when it came to just people, not even fans, just people in general. He said one of the things that he loved the most about that whole thing was, one, obviously the escape. But 2, he said that he got recognized almost 0 times.
Yeah,
through
there's
the entire
actually, I remember reading an article after his death, right? A
Right.
couple days after his death. It was somebody, like, it was almost like a blog post, less of an article. So, like, one of the few times that somebody claims to have recognized him during this insanely long journey that he was
Right.
undergoing, right?
Right.
And even though the guy was obviously going through the worst time in his life, according to what this person had to say, he was nothing but a class act the entire time.
Yeah.
They sat down and had coffee at like a small gas station type deal, and
Right.
Neil gave him a book to take with him
Right.
because Neil was always reading.
Yes, of course. Yeah, Neil was a total bookhead. Like that's actually why they had him start writing lyrics when he joined, because his vocabulary was so much higher up there, and he read so many books that Neil actually wrote all the lyrics for the band. As like almost as soon as he started. But yeah, no, it's very clear that like it started out as a depressed escape, and it turned into one of the greatest things that he ever could have done for himself, because there are pictures of him when he's writing and when he stops to take a picture and all that stuff in different countries and stuff like that. He seems very happy. He seems like he's enjoying himself. He seems like this is just something that he needed to do, and the escape clearly helped him a lot.
It's one of those things where obviously having music is an outlet, and it's a functional outlet, and it's a great outlet. But there's times where you kind of need to realize that taking yourself out of a situation might be the best.
Right.
And
exactly.
then, like some of the stuff that happened around his first wife's death, like she died of cancer, but he's gone on the record to say that she basically died of apathy because not that their marriage was dysfunctional or bad, but 20 years of touring is going to have its toll on any relationship,
Yeah, for sure.
I'm an addict.
So I'm sure there was a part of it where, I'm speculating here, she was so fed up with the fact that he was never around that she didn't care to take care of herself and like fight to try and live through that. And that obviously like gripped him, that had to be gripping for him. Like,
yeah, I mean, you're basically being told like, I don't care enough to want to stay here.
Yeah.
That's rough, man.
That's extremely fucking rough. That's rough is the understatement of the century, right?
Yeah, rough is so to bring the mood up a little bit.
Now that it's kind of
now that we're past that. Oh, real quick, one more side note from that whole story. Neil, I don't remember if it was during that trip or after that trip, he wrote a book. It's called Ghostwriter. You should absolutely read it or get it on Audible. Whatever you need to do, you should ingest that in some way, shape, or form, because it is amazing. One of the best books I've ever read. Absolutely worth it. Let me see. I have something that I wanted to play. It's not Rush per se, but can you hear the stream?
I have it muted. I can unmute it real quick.
Go ahead and unmute it. So, have you ever watched South Park?
Yeah.
Did you ever see their South Park intro for their, I think it was the Rush 40 tour?
No, I did not.
Okay, I'm not going to show it, but I'll play it.
Okay, all right.
All right, here we go, people. Let's get this party started. And a 1, and a 2, and a 1, 2, 3. Oh, 1, 2, 3.
These are all the South Park characters playing this song.
Modern day warrior named Tom Sawyer. He floated down a river on a raft with a black guy. Hold on, stop. Those aren't the right lyrics, fat ass. Tom Sawyer built a raft and floated down a river with a black guy. I read the book. That's not Tom Sawyer, that's Huckleberry Finn, stupid. I am Geddy Lee, and I will sing whatever lyrics I want. Just start the song again, and this time do it right.
I am...
5, and a 1, and a 2, and a 1, 2, 3. Oh, 1, 2, 3.
And so then they would actually start the song at that part. Oh my god, dude, it's so good. And oh man, it's just
it's funny. It's like not rarely, but it's always interesting to see how bands get represented in media, right? You think of Blue Oyster Cult getting represented on SNL, right? With the more cowbell bit. You think of Green Day being in the Simpsons movie,
right?
And then you think of Yeah, I did too until just now. Sorry. And then you think about Rush getting referenced by shows like South Park, and I remember last week when we decided we were gonna do this deep
You
dive.
mentioned Family Guy.
I mentioned the Family Guy bit about beating up Peter Griffin in 7/8 time, and that's sending me into fits of laughter, right? Somebody in the chat actually mentioned Trailer Park Boys and their obsession with the Rush. Alex Lifeson went on an episode of Trailer Park Boys as himself, and he needed help getting his guitar back from a pawn shop or something.
Oh my god, that's
and
amazing.
it's the funniest fucking episode of television, the show that I've seen in a long time. Because
Oh
of
my
course it's
God.
riddled with jokes about Rush. You know, of course the episode is just nothing but Rush jokes the whole time.
Right.
It's so good. It's so fucking good.
Right.
Man.
I'm not gonna play it now, but I'm gonna watch the Family Guy thing when we get done with this. I just don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to play it right now just because I don't know if it's gonna get us taken down from like YouTube or something. But
Sure, the YouTube deities might have their own opinions about how to do things.
But if anybody wants to watch it, it just YouTube Family Guy Rush, and it's the second video. Beat him in 6/8 time.
One of the things that I did want to touch on when we're like, I feel like we would be remiss to not talk about it, is Rush's live show once they achieved success. You know?
Yes.
Like the bullet point note that I had was the live show spectacle. Like, that's the exact wording that I used. It sucks because it feels like an episode. Like I almost would love to do like a multi-part episode about Rush, but this is our first time doing it. Maybe our next deep dive will break it up into a few.
I thought about it. Like I really thought about it. So Felipe says, question for you guys, but do you feel nostalgia while talking about this? I don't think nostalgia is the right word, and I only say that because it wasn't like the music it wasn't at least the music I grew up listening to. I didn't listen to Rush till later in life. And also I never got the chance to see them live, and I know I'm pretty sure, and that's the same for you as well.
Yeah, that is the.
So I wouldn't say nostalgia is the correct word, but it's definitely a is serotonin the right word?
Serotonin is a neurotransmitter in your brain.
Yeah.
It's
right. Isn't that isn't like the good neurotransmitter?
It is. It gives me the good feelies talking about Rush, because you know, like I don't know if I told you this story where we talked about this last week. When the day that Neil died, January 7th of 2020, and I only know that because that was the day that I got my favorite guitar that I owned. I had ordered it from Sweetwater and it came in the mail, right? And I remember that day, and it was a big deal to me.
Oh man.
I was with some of my coworkers on our day off. We were at the School of Rock and we were playing music, and we decided to just start playing a bunch of Rush songs.
Oh.
Like we played Bastille Day, we played Tom Sawyer and YYZ, obviously. We faked our way through Red Barchetta. You know, just fucking around, like not even for the sake of like, oh, we're gonna play this because we're putting together a Rush tribute set or anything.
Right.
But I was like, we were playing all this music. I was like, man, I love this band so much, and there was a bunch of other guys who were like into prog, and then I left that rehearsal. We were there for like 3 or 4 hours, and I heard it on the radio. And I couldn't believe it. I had to call all those guys and be like, "Are you hearing about what just happened?" And so it's a really good feeling to like be able to like gush about the things that you love, right? And it's even better when you get to share that with someone who obviously has the same like level of emphaticness about it, you know. So thank you for sharing this with me.
Yeah, hey man, I feel the same way, bro.
Sure. It feels really good. So I guess to answer Felipe's question is it's not nostalgia for me, and it's not even, and like it is a good feeling, but it's more like validation, catharsis almost, to talk about this and be like, yes, you understand, you get what I'm saying, you know. Yeah, I'm not just this stupid nerd who's really into this stupid prog band for no reason. There's other people out there, because there's this presentation of like Rush fans being like obnoxious on the internet also, you know.
Oh, really? I've never heard that.
I've been seeing it more and more recently, where it's like, oh, your favorite band is Rush. You must be really fucking boring as a person. It's like a meme I saw in a Facebook guitar group the other day, and it was funny because I could see where that's coming from, but at the same time, it's like no, like there is something special here. There's a lot to connect to with this band. Like they talk about so many different things that people aren't necessarily talking about in music. I could see Beaker just laughing about the fucking comment.
Dude, I mean, it's funny. Like, if you have a good sense of humor and you're not like, you don't have a stick up your ass, that's hilarious to every Rush fan.
It is really funny, you know.
Like, that's hilarious to every Rush fan, and it should be. Like, someone took the time out of their day to specifically make that joke about you. You should feel special about that.
Right, like you go, Glen Coco. You got somebody talking about you. That's it, man.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, Felipe, what you said, yeah, maybe like you weren't there, but you feel special connection to the band. Absolutely. That is absolutely what it is. And it's a bummer that I never got to meet those guys. Like, because I know my dad would have been like, all right, we're gonna get meet and greet tickets because we're meeting them. There's no way we're not.
Right.
Because like as 60-year-old men who've been touring for 40 plus years, they're still doing meet and greets. Like, that's special. That's different.
That is special. That's
like,
rare.
Yeah, exactly. Like, usually people who have been doing it for that long would never even step foot, like, if they could, 5 feet from the people that they play music to. Like, there's just no way. And to do a multiple hour meet and greet, which, by the way, like I said earlier, Neil, he was not a people person. Neil actually wouldn't go to the meet and greets. He never liked that interaction with someone who, like, it was clear that there was more than just like a person to person thing. It was like, I'm meeting an idol, and he didn't like that. Actually, the bassist of Rage Against the Machine had met him. He got brought into a room. They were like, do you want to meet Neil? And he was like, what? Yes. Hello. Yes. And so they brought him into Neil's room, and he was like, hey man, I just want to say hello. Like, I'm a huge fan. And Neil just like didn't say anything. And then like the security guard just like took the guy out. Like, he was just like, and Neil talks about, he was like, I don't want to like seem rude, and it's not because I don't love them, and like, but I don't want that interaction where there's like, you have a fantasy and I'm the one who's supposed to be fulfilling that, like that type of thing.
Right. I'm actually a person, I would like if you talk to me as a person. I can understand that, know. I hope to be famous enough one day to have that mentality.
Yeah, I know, right? So really quick, I'm not sure if you knew this, but so after the whole South America trip on his bike, he pretty much just fell in love with motorcycles and rode them everywhere. And when they were on tour, when Alex and Getty would be in either a tour bus or a jet or a plane or whatever you want to call it, flying to their next destination for a show, Neil would ride his motorcycle to every single date. And he would, by him. It would either be by himself or he'd have like one of their security guys who also ride with him. And there was one tour, I want to say it was the 40 tour.
Okay.
I want to say it was the 40 tour, where there was a date where on the way when he was riding his motorcycle, it was raining like crazy. It rained for hours on end, and water had gotten like into his motorcycle boots. And like, basically it had been sitting there stagnant for so long, it like just rotted his foot. Like,
oh God, yeah.
He had like gangrene or some shit, and there was just like a hole in his foot. And he had to ride the rest of the way, get to the show, change his shoes into his drumming shoes, because he has those, and play the entire set with basically a hole in his foot. And he like went to go off stage and he almost couldn't walk.
Yeah, what the
like fuck? Talk about a freaking gangster. Like,
yeah. Like, not so humble brag, right?
Yeah,
like, you don't got to be humble when you pull shit out like that off.
Exactly. You don't have to talk to people when you do that shit.
Yeah, you can have the choice. So my favorite part of Rush, or one of my favorite parts of Rush, aside from the music, aside from the personality, aside from how well read they are, is so a lot of their shows later in their tours, when they are established and they decided we're gonna do whatever the hell we want, that's what we're gonna do. Alex Lifeson got into this really fun habit of in the middle of a show, whether it's like during an instrumental break in a song or literally between songs, he would go on rants about stuff.
Oh.
About nonsense stuff.
Oh, like Kanye.
Like, yeah, like kind of like Kanye. But I'm gonna send this to you, Mike, where I'm gonna find the timestamp when he starts talking about it. Yeah, this is perfect. This is exactly what I want. Hold on. Copy video URL at current time. Check your Discord.
Okay.
Because this is him in the middle of a rant about Paris Hilton.
Oh Lord.
And he starts doing an impression of Paris Hilton at the timestamp that I marked. And I would like for you to play that for the stream if you don't mind, so they can hear what I'm talking about.
I'm playing it now.
Oh, thank you, God, for making me not be Paris Hilton.
Yeah, during the middle of La Via Sognata, oddly enough.
Maybe I'll spend some money today.
So he would do shit like that. My favorite one is he has a rant about fried chicken that I can't find a YouTube video for anymore. Like it got taken down or something. Actually, let's try Alex Lifeson fried chicken.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's
And
that's
it's
amazing.
stupid, but I love it.
No, I
think it's so great.
And you know that all of the Rush fans were just like, yes, preach.
Give me more. give me more of your nonsense, Alex Lifeson.
So since we're talking about favorite Rush things, one of my this is probably my favorite Neil thing ever. So for those of you who don't know, Neil always thought that when they're playing live, he's the drummer. Behind the drum kit is where he should be, and that's where he stays when they get on stage, and then when they get off stage. He's behind the kit at all times. He doesn't go to the front of the stage ever. He never did in their almost 50 years of playing. So when they were doing their, I believe it was their last tour, and it was their last show of the tour, and they had already announced, we're not touring anymore. Like, this is it. You know, everybody knew. At the end of the last show of the last tour, Neil came to the front of the stage with the rest of the band members, and I want to say there's a video of it. I can't remember, but he came to the front of the stage, and he's never done this in almost 50 years, and he joined Geddy and Alex in the little group bow and group hug and everything. And Geddy and Alex's face when he runs up behind them and like grabs their shoulders is the most amazing thing ever. Cause it's like, even they're like, holy shit, Neil Peart is up here with us. Like, he's never done this. So it was just such an amazing moment. And like, I want to say I got teary eyed. I'm almost 100% sure I got teary eyed when I saw that shit. Cause I was like, dude, this guy, I don't know. It was just amazing to me to watch.
No, I get that. I get that. Wait, I see instructions for trauma. We'll check in on that here in a minute.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay, got it. Duly noted. So we'll make sure that we handle that appropriately. Yeah, man, there's just a lot of things to pinpoint about I almost made the decision a year ago, like when COVID had started. It's like, I got nothing better to do. Maybe I'll learn how to use a MIDI foot controller and commit to the Alex Life, or not to the Geddy Lee thing.
Yeah.
You know? And just like, yeah, I want to play a keyboard with my toes.
Oh my
that
God.
sounds like a good time. That sounds like what I want to be doing.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. After seeing clips of them, from the 80s when they were very synth driven.
Yeah.
I mean, he had like 3 different stands with like 2 or 3 keyboards on each stand for like their whole show, and it definitely drives home the fact that they were very synth driven. Like, he almost didn't play bass like the whole time. He was just at the freaking keyboard. He would just sing. He didn't even have a bass on him, like strapped around him. He would just sit at the keyboard and do a bunch of crazy shit and play, and like that was it.
Yeah, I almost bought the the main unit that he used for bass signal they were getting kind of Sith crazy was the Moog Taurus.
Mm-hmm.
And Moog makes a mini Taurus, like a Minotaur, which is just a smaller version of Taurus.
Yeah.
And it is pretty nasty. It's
Yeah.
a great sounding synthesizer, and I almost bought one.
Oh man, I would imagine that it probably sounds pretty good if he's using it.
Yeah, I mean it's perfect for like that low end sub bass kind of.
Yeah.
It's that sound.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, actually, the first note that I wrote that was after the list of people in the documentary who spoke on them was that Geddy Lee's bass tone is absolutely disgusting and legendary.
Oh yeah.
Like his live tone is so unbelievably good. It's crazy.
I prefer his bass tone to most guitar tone, honestly.
Yeah, like I so like my dad loves Rush. That's who introduced me to them. And we would always, like, when he would have his nights where, you know, after a week of work, he'd have some drinks on Friday, and like we would watch all of the live shows, like literally every single one, like live in Rio, or Rush in Rio rather, the 40 tour, was it Clockwork Angels? I think
Clockwork Angels is one.
like all of that. And just the tone that he had was so good.
Yeah. And that's somebody who cared, you know.
Oh yeah, for sure. That whole band was people who couldn't. Let me see. What's the best way to word this? I was gonna say couldn't care less, but that doesn't mean what I want it to mean.
Right.
They cared
That's not
a lot,
exactly
is what I'm trying to get at.
Potentially too much.
Potentially too much. Yes.
But yeah, man, I really feel like in the future we'll talk about this more off the show. I think if we're gonna do deep dives, we should plan to do multi episodes, because there's so much more that I want to say, and I know that
Oh,
we're
yeah.
not gonna like.
Yeah.
We just don't have the time.
Well, we didn't even really talk about Geddy. Like, that's the thing.
We've hardly spoken about Geddy.
We talked about Geddy for the last like 2 minutes, and that was it. Like, I had a whole page on like his history of being himself.
Okay, next episode, Geddy Lee deep dive.
Yeah, just Geddy Lee.
Just Geddy Lee.
Oh man. But yeah, so like we talked about at the beginning and middle of the podcast, we do this on twitch.tv/BlackFlameGG every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. You can also find the video on YouTube, and you can find the audio on Spotify. It's usually the day after. Most likely will be, just because this one isn't really going to be much to edit, I would imagine. So yeah. Anthony, thank you, sir, for joining me on another beautiful...
for having me. This show is a lot of fun. This comes to be like the most exciting part of my week now. Thank you for sharing this conversation with me on my birthday. This has been a lot of fun.
Oh yes! I forgot. How dare I didn't even make a cake. I didn't make a cake. God damn it, I forgot. Son of a
dude,
bitch.
don't even worry about it. Thank you for just talking with me about this stuff. Like this has been a lot of fun. I'm excited to do our show next week, which we don't have a topic for next week. We're gonna talk about it off the air. No teasers this time, so we'll make it extra spicy for you guys.
Yes, we will.
Thank you for the happy birthday wishes in the chat. I know I'm not supposed to read chat, but it's the end of the show. Who cares? Thank you guys so much. And we're going to put something really special together for you guys next week and beyond. Please check us out on Spotify, check us out on YouTube, all that good stuff. If anybody here in the live chat wants to join us, we're going to be dropping a raid over to Sir Kenbo, because that guy's awesome. But that's our show for the week. Thank you guys so much for listening in.